All right, there we go. All right. Hello, everybody. Look, first and foremost, we are excited to be back again for another episode of Talk Tuesday. So, look, we're back. This is our last week for the month of September. And so, how exciting is that? We've done a lot the last couple of weeks, right, y'all? We went through a lot of different topics. We brought in some amazing conversations. And I think we have done very good diving deep into understanding positive relationships with our peers. So first and foremost, to those of you who are just joining us, we want to say welcome to Talk Tuesday, a series that's dedicated to empowering youth and families. This series is being brought to you by Steps Foundation, Inc., where advocacy meets education for the betterment of young minds. I am Abigail Ellis, your host and the founder of Steps Foundation, Inc. This month, as I said, we've been diving deep into positive peer relationships. Again, a phenomenal conversation with lots of perspectives, lots of, woo. I think y'all been a little deep 2 weeks in a row because I'm going to say Smith done took us to church maybe twice. Elani and Karen been giving us the real. I mean, y'all have really been diving deep into this conversation, and I appreciate it because, again, I think hearing multiple perspectives is always key, especially as we are trying to help our students transition into understanding what good relationships look like with friends, with family, with those that they want to be in relationships with. And so we've been exploring, recognizing healthy versus toxic relationships. We've kind of talked about communication and whether we feel like we're doing it effectively. We've even talked about strategies for resisting that peer pressure, understanding positive and negative peer pressures. Man, y'all killed that one last week. Let me just say that was awesome. Tonight we're gonna kind of dive into like trust and empathy. So how does that look within some of the relationships that we have? So I'm excited to kind of jump in on this topic and for us to kind of start sharing what that looks like, how it looks for us, especially as our students are navigating some of those relationships. So for those of you who is your first time joining us, we have a phenomenal team of people who kind of join our panels and have these discussions. I want to give a shout out to my team, Alani and Karen and Jackie. Look, I so love having our team members on because they get to share their insight too. And what did these things look like for them, or what does it currently look like, for them? And look, I can't not do this without giving that shout out to those who've been sticking with me for the last 3 years doing Talk Tuesdays. Smitty, Dr. Lytle, and then y'all know we missing our boy Caesar tonight, but Caesar's been with us on Talk Tuesday, since he's been with us in school. And so I absolutely love the amount of experiences and different perspectives and just conversations that we get to have with everybody who kind of jumps in with us for Talk Tuesday. So I know y'all ready for your first question because Smith always be like, hit me with it. Smith, you ready? I know, because you always give me that face, and I'm like, I know that is that. Come on, Abby, give me that deep question.
Well, I mean, I hold you to high expectations, so.
So then you can give me that thinking face because I love that thinking face. That ooh, yeah. So the first question of the night, okay, why is trust the foundation of a strong relationship? And that's like with anybody. I love the nod and the look. He's shaking the head already. Like, this how we starting off? Yeah, this how we starting.
I was going to say, I think it's phenomenal that we have your team on here, just full of young minds who are actually living it. So I'm going to defer to them first because they're actually living it right now. You know what I'm saying? And I just want to hear what they have to say before give my 2 cents on this trust thing.
Ooh, okay, with his 2 cents. I hear you, Smith. All right, team members, he threw that right back at y'all. Y'all see how he did y'all tonight? See? Tonight he throwing it. Who got us? Who gonna start us off?
Trust is important because it's a clear and honest communication and it's respect. And it's not judgmental. So because you're trusting that person and they're being honest, so there gotta be a strong connection and relationship to trust a person with those boundaries or things.
I like that. I like that. And I think I agree with you, Alani, because I do feel like a lot of times when we are building relationships with people, it is a two-way street, right? And that communication is definitely key in us being able to understand like how to build that trust with each other. That's a good perspective. Who else? Who else? Who got next? Y'all like,
My perspective would be trust is the building block that you build off of. And it's also when you give trust, you're going to receive trust. And it's also a way to be vulnerable and honest. And when you're being trusting, you're also gaining the respect of your peers, your mentors. And it's also a way to set yourself up for the future.
like that perspective, Jackie. Especially the setting up for the future. I think that's so important. Like if we understand it now, it makes it a little bit easier for us to build on those relationships as we grow.
Mhm.
Oh, listen, look, y'all coming in hot tonight. I see y'all. Look, spit like, yeah.
So I really can't see who else is on, but just off of those two, you know, take trust, right? And to what the two young ladies just spoke on. You're talking about security. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants that safe zone, that safe harbor, someone to confide in your feelings, your dreams, your goals, your emotions, your thoughts, you know what I'm saying? And when we start talking about young folks and trust, you know, I was talking to someone like once the young person gets like middle school, so we talking like sixth, seventh grade, they start they start they start, navigating closer to people who are in their trust zone, so to speak, right? They think alike. So if you like planes, you're probably gonna gravitate to somebody who like planes, right? Um, but here's the crazy part. That's a safety net, right? That's the trust. I can confide in these friends because we like the same things. They're not gonna laugh at me because I want to be a pilot, right? But it's now when we start talking about the relationships outside of your comfort zone, that security blanket is now gone, right? And now when you enter into these new friendships or these new relationships, you want that security, and you hope it travels. But then if you don't know what that feedback or that pushback looks like, then you start getting a little apprehensive. So, to me, trust is security. Everybody wants to be safe. Everybody wants their fit. They don't want to be laughed at, especially young folks. Folks don't want to be laughed at.
Right.
So I think trust is basically the foundation of security.
Oh, I love this security piece. OMG. And this ties into that next question, Smith. he talking about security. Listen, Samantha done entered the room. Samantha, let me see. You're gonna probably be disappointed because I don't even think I got it on here no more. I gotta download it again. So for those of y'all who don't know, Samantha used to be my one that every time things start getting good, Samantha be like, drop that collection plate. We miss you, Samantha. So talking about that security, right? What do you guys feel the role of vulnerability plays in building trust?
I feel like it is important to be vulnerable because I feel like it gets to the point where if you're not being 100% you and 100% trust, like not not like 100% you, but like as in like if you feel bad about something and you don't tell people that you feel bad about this certain thing, then they don't know it's a bad thing. So that's why it's important to be vulnerable and to be able to tell like your friends, like if your friends are doing something upsetting, they won't know that it's making you upset unless you tell them. Because if they're good friends, they don't mean anything bad by it. So
Right.
they'll so so they don't know that it's a bad thing until you say it. So I feel like being vulnerable is a very important aspect of trust because that shows that you put like, yet you trust this person to be vulnerable with them through this, like, especially like if you're going through a hard time. And if you have that one friend that you can be vulnerable to, that's like the insane amount of trust that you have in this person is shows how strong your relationship is. So, yeah.
I'll take this one too. I think first I want to just pause to be very clear about what vulnerability looks like, right? For different people, it's different things. It's sharing your emotions, it's being able to be completely honest, be your most authentic self. It can be, you know, just being able to say what's going on with you is a different level of vulnerability than sharing the inner workings of your mind. And so vulnerability looks different for different people, but as a foundation for trust, it's necessary because I can trust certain people with different parts of my life. And so being able to really think about who are the people that I call on my worst days? Who are the people that I reach out to when I'm having the best day ever? Those are different types of vulnerability that you open yourself up to and share in your life, share parts of your life with folks for various reasons. And so when you have trust, it can be, I trust this person with my life, but I don't trust them financially. It might be, I trust this person to be honest with me and to hold me accountable. It can be, I trust this person with my emotions. And so not everybody in your life deserves all of those types of trust. And so being able to navigate and discern who actually deserves that type of trust is probably the biggest part of it, because unfortunately, when you trust the wrong person and people get their feelings hurt, or they, you told someone something in confidence and they shared it with other people, and now you don't feel like you can trust anyone. So it's really to be mindful of how you dole out that gift and allow people to show you who they are before you give them more of yourself if you're not sure, like if you're uncertain. But take time to test it out. That first instinct, that first step towards vulnerability is, can I let this person in? And just, it's so important to try though in the first place. But absolutely, vulnerability is a huge part of trust and can grow. I mean, the trust that you have with a person can grow over time. The more you get to know them, the more opportunities they've had in your life to protect what you've shared with them. There's so many different facets for trust, and vulnerability is absolutely linked with all of them.
Oh, come on, Doc. Look, I think she brought the collection plate in here. Listen, I love the can I let them in being the question, right? And I feel like a lot of times we tend to make excuses for bad behaviors because we're looking for that belonging, if you will. And I love that you brought that up, Doc, because it's true. Like we look at people differently depending on where we are, right? And what we're looking for. And I love that you said, like, see them for who they are, because a lot of times they show us who they are. We just make the excuse for the opposite of what is being shown to us. I love that. And I think that, like you said, that plays a huge role in that vulnerability, because depending on how they act will depend on how vulnerable you're going to be. But I love the, can I let them in, as a question. Oh, I think I need to drop that in on the live chat. Hold on. Ask yourself, can I let them in?
You know, someone's knocking, can I let them in? Right? Ain't that part of a song?
Right.
I don't know. Don't worry about me. You know, these first two questions to me revolve around time, right? It takes time to build up some of these things, especially when we start talking about vulnerable, right? Vulnerable, like to me, you know, you get to a comfort zone with someone, you know, in this relationship, y'all best friends, but you need time for that to evolve. But like vulnerable is this. See, I think I look at things a little bit different. You know, I think when we start talking the big picture, vulnerable, right? Oh, I can come and talk to you about this challenge, this issue, whatever, right? But vulnerable is being comfort with somebody, right? Being super comfortable, right? To where, you know, someone, you might pass gas, you might crack a joke, you might do something and you laugh so hard, like snot flies out of your mouth or your nose, you know what I'm saying? And you fall and trip and bang your head, and y'all just laugh together for no reason. That's vulnerable. And that's a comfort zone that you enter into over time, because you know I can trust this person. They're going to laugh at me because snot came out of my nose, but they're laughing with me because it's hilarious, not because they're going to run and tell somebody. You know what I'm saying? And to the doctor's point, right? When we start talking about, you know, you got to be, if I'm going to let you in, I'm going to let you in. And then now I'm vulnerable, right? But I have to do my due diligence prior to that, right? I have to do my due diligence and make sure that these boundaries I created, you are okay with, and you can understand those, right? And extend that back to me to allow me to be comfortable. You know, again, the things I'm talking about from a 53-year-old friendship, right? That I've been in with my best friend since 1983. We laugh about anything, right? But how does a 12-year-old or a 15-year-old or 17-year-old who's still challenging with these emotions that they're doing eternally, then decide, hey, do I want to let you in? Because that other 17-year-old is going through the same thing. So it's a complex question. But I think once you understand, young folks, once you understand that you create those boundaries, and it's okay to be vulnerable as long as the other person is accepting your vulnerability and understanding your boundaries and respecting them.
Ooh, look, these boundaries keep coming back again and again and again, but for good reason, right? And I think this becomes that important piece when we keep talking about boundaries and people understanding them. Why understanding your boundaries is so important. Like, it's tacked on to a little bit of everything that you do. Building those relationships, being able to communicate, being able to find your place where you feel like you fit. Like, them boundaries just keep coming back. Come on, Smith.
Sis, if I could,
Yeah.
because I think it was Ilana that spoke about this with a friendship group she was in. And now I think it's important to understand the dynamics of the environment that young folks are in. When we start talking about trust, that was the first question, right? And then this vulnerability, right? The, my heart goes out to young people right now because everything is the instant oatmeal. I want to have my best friend now. I want to have my best friend for life right now, right? I want to be able to tell everything to this individual or this group of people, right? But then this other person or this other group of people don't understand your boundaries or don't respect them. And so now you done shared all of this stuff. And I just really quick. I overheard a conversation with a young lady, and she was talking to another young lady on the phone, and she wanted that person to bring in another person and mute her so she's not there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like she wants her to get into this ugly triangle of he said, she said, and you didn't know I was on the phone. And she's going,
Uh-huh.
young folks, man, trust and vulnerability is very, very difficult right now. So create your boundaries. Again, I know, sis, I said it, but create your boundaries because those type of things are games, are mousetraps that, befall even adults. So just be mindful.
Yes. And I think it's one of those continuous things. It's a continuous cycle. So it's not something that you're just going to go through during your middle school phase or your high school phase. We definitely go through it in our adult phase. Come on, Karen, and then I got you, Jackie.
I was just gonna say that, like, talking about boundaries, I definitely struggled with the boundaries like throughout high school. Like, I started like recently like developing boundaries, which is crazy to think about because I should have developed them sooner, but I didn't. And the important thing about boundaries is not that you not only do you have to make them, you have to stand by them. And because like I'm a people pleaser at heart. So whenever like someone like I remember I was worse in high school though. And when someone would break a boundary that I clearly wouldn't like, I would be like, no, 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 but it's fine, it's fine. Like I don't want to upset them. So it's okay. I don't want to tell anyone. So the point of a boundary is that it's a boundary. You have to tell them no. You have to say that it's not okay. Because otherwise it's not a boundary anymore. It is just a suggestion. And so like that's why that's where the power of a boundary comes to when you put your foot down and you stand by what you said. And it's hard. It is so hard, especially when it's like a friend that you've been friends with for years. I know that. I talked about it on this podcast before. I've been friends with people for years, and they broke my boundaries multiple times. And I didn't say anything because they have been my friends for 7 years. So but it doesn't matter if you had just met this person or you've been friends with them your entire life. You have to know how to put your foot down and tell them no and tell them, hey, this thing that you did, it isn't okay. It is not mean. If anything, it's just common communication. And it takes a lot out of a person to do that. And I understand that because again, I'm a people pleaser. I get anxious whenever I say like the slightest mean thing to anyone. But it is important because that not only will you be able to grow your friendship that way, because that shows that you trust this person and be like, hey, I know you probably did not know this. I'll tell you this now. And then if they do it again, then you know that friendship isn't a good one. So that's why it's kind of important to set that boundary because you never know if that friendship is good or not if you never tell them your boundaries to this person. Anyway, I just went on a tangent, but yeah, that's
No, that was perfect. Because again, it goes back to us understanding those boundaries, and we've all kind of been in similar situations where we had to put our foot down. And like you said, it's not always easy to share your boundaries with people, especially when you're a people pleaser. I love that. Go ahead, Jackie. And then I got you, Ilani. Look at them hands. I love seeing these hands flying up. Yes, y'all. Come on.
So I really love this topic about being vulnerable and how it plays a role in building trust. And Smitty had mentioned acceptance, and acceptance is such a hard thing with teens because some people are, you don't, when you're getting to know people, or if you come from a place of, let's say, struggling with a disability or a different background, or going to a new school, but being open and honest about your feelings and experiences can help other people feel safe to do the same. And then it goes back to that building block. And vulnerability also helps connect people on a deeper level, but it also requires honesty. But if you're being fake, what happens is people start to see that, feel that, and are they being honest? Are they being authentic? And it's important to share your thoughts and your fears and your struggles, when it's appropriate, of course, but also, like she had said, respect other people's boundaries. And just like, was it Karen that was just speaking?
Yes, yes.
I didn't set my boundaries at an early age. I let people tease me and walk all over me. And now at my age, I'm just setting those boundaries, and people are like, what? Why are you doing that? But it's just when people see that you're being genuine and authentic, they're more likely to trust you with your own vulnerabilities, and there's connection built.
Oh, y'all better come through tonight. Wow. Come on, Alani. Come on, Alani. Listen, I ain't holding none of y'all back tonight. Let's go. Y'all on it.
So I want to add something about Karen and Jackie. I agree with them. My part, I'm gonna say, a lot of young people, they're scared to lose people, and that's why they be like, "I trust you, please don't leave," because they're scared of losing people, and they're not respecting themselves or their boundary. That's, I think, one of the first thing a lot of people do because they're scared to lose people, and that's why that's why the trust keeps breaking, and it keeps ending like friendships and relationships.
Oh, come on, Elani. Listen, I feel like all y'all done brought the collection plate. Samantha, should the money be in the collection plate at this point, or are we just now collecting the collection?
I'm looking for it. I'm looking for it.
Oh my goodness. Look, y'all better come through tonight.
You know what? Alani makes a very, very valid,
Hey, yes.
because it's easy for us to sit here as adults and maybe some young adults who've been through it, right? But let's just be honest. Put yourself in 7th grade, 8th grade when you was there. Like Alani said, you ain't trying to lose no friends. You ain't trying to be, over there sitting by yourself, having lunch, walking around campus by yourself. We have to be honest about that, and we have to acknowledge it because it's real. Now we go back to, and I'm not trying to check, but we go back to the relationships with the parent and instilling that self-esteem and that reassurance that it's okay. You don't have to hang with other people to validate who you are. You don't need a million friends for your validation to make you feel like you're somebody special. You are special just like you are. Like I said last time, if you have 3 ears, you're not weird. You've just been put here to listen to a lot of pain of other people. It's an assignment, not an ailment. You know what I'm saying? So the parent part is so critical before we even get to this stage, and we want to fit in. When you talk about fitting in, I guarantee you go to any middle school right now, everybody's wearing the same clothes. Everybody's using the same language because everybody wants to fit into Alani's point. You know what I'm saying? Nobody is doing anything different. Now we have to be realistic and ask ourselves why. Why?
We may actually have that answer why. I mean,
I'm gonna shut up after this, but it irritates me because I'm in Houston, been in California. I've seen kids walking around, and it disturbs my soul, my stomach, when I see young men with these tight jeans on, down past their behind, walking. They have to walk so slow with their feet together so their pants don't fall off. This is not an isolated event. And again, if we're going to talk about being different and creating our boundaries, then somebody needs to pull young bruh to the side and be like, bruh, pull your pants up, be a man. Now, I'm not saying, again, let me just be mindful. I was 15. So, but at some point, we need to do better as adults. I'm sorry. We need to do better as adults.
Come on now, Smith. I even take you a step further, and then I got you, Karen, because I see you, baby girl. Look, she ready. I want to also acknowledge the fact that I heard Alani and Karen both say, and Jackie, we're just now establishing those boundaries, right? And hearing you guys both say, I don't know why I didn't do that when I was younger. Now, I can honestly say, how many of you actually had these open conversations with your family when you were younger? And so a lot of this is why you're just not establishing those boundaries. It wasn't a conversation piece for us, right? We were kind of like, hey, we're going through the day-to-days of school, walking those hallways, figuring it out, right? And so now we're in a space where these conversations happen just a little bit more. People are acknowledging that these are issues and problems just a little bit more. Go ahead, Doc. I see you.
And I'll say it's not just your family. Just to be clear, our entire community.
Absolutely.
So boundaries, while they've been around for some people, they really are a mental health concept. And so understanding how not to fall into the trap of people pleasing and overextending yourself to make others feel good. Most of those reactions and responses are from people who were in some way, often it was a trauma response, or it was some sort of just kind of coping mechanism that people took on so that they could keep the peace or be okay, and so there's a generation of folks, multiple generations of folks who don't even understand this concept of boundaries. And so likely your folks, my folks, the folks that came before them would not have really even understood the way they were setting their children up for stress, really. And so
True.
And while it wasn't intentional, it still did what it did. And so now we're having those conversations because we have a society of people who are highly anxious, highly, experiencing depression at record rates. But I think a part of that is more conversation about it. Not that it wasn't happening before. We just didn't talk about the anxiety. We didn't talk about the depression. We didn't talk about all of these mental health struggles and challenges, but we're talking about it now because we don't want our people, we don't want our communities, we don't want our families to continue to be broken in the same way. People die by suicide at an alarming rate because they feel like they can't talk about what's going on with them. They can't talk about what's wrong. And so knowing that as a society, we've started this conversation about mental health. And if we're talking about mental health, we're talking about what's causing people to feel stressed. And that's where we got into this, wow, you're overextending yourself a whole lot. Why are you doing this? Oh, I don't have boundaries. Let me tell you what a boundary is and how to establish those. And so it's okay that you're just now doing it. I'm a grown woman who has been schooled in these things for years. And even I did not really have solid boundaries throughout my life. And I can say that honestly, that wasn't the case. It wasn't a case where just a random person on the street could get me to do anything. It was my loved ones, the people I care the most about, because I don't want to disappoint them. I don't want them to miss out all of these things, but I still had to recognize that my love for them can't trump my love for myself. And I can't do anything for anybody if I wear myself out. And so ultimately, boundaries are for your loved ones, and almost as much as they are for you. So I'm so proud of you all who mentioned that this is a new part of your journey. And I hope you continue paying that forward and talking about it with your friends and your family. And because you'll notice the change, it's going to be rough. I won't pretend that it's going to be this easy transition. The people around you are used to you being there, beck and call, or available to them. And it's going to be a rough transition. But if you hold fast and you keep doing it, they'll notice that when you do spend time together, then when you do things that you get to do for them, it'll be a more enjoyable experience for everybody involved.
Come on, y'all. Come on, Karen. I'm not even gonna add to that one. Come on, Karen.
Okay, I'm gonna go back a little bit. So to specifically what Smitty said about how like a lot of like middle schoolers and high schoolers are like all wearing the same stuff, all doing the same things because they want to fit in. And I think that it's so funny to me because I remember being a kid and being like, oh, my mom complains all the time about the internet. I can't, it's not the internet. But it is. It is kind of. Now looking back, yeah, because it's a lot of it comes, I know it sounds like it's crazy because you think your parents are wrong one minute and then the next you're like, yeah, they're kind of right. That like the internet right now is so has such high like standards for what friendship should be. And and not all friendships look the same. And the thing is, the only ones they show on the internet are the good ones, are the pretty ones, are the ones that everyone wants. So everyone is trying to achieve this like almost an unachievable goal because even those people that post those friendships online, their friendship isn't always like that. Like
Exactly.
they most times, if not all the time, they're probably fighting. There's some infighting or someone has started drama within their friend group. You don't know. But for people who are growing up now and like everyone is carrying one of these, right? And everyone's carrying it everywhere, which is like I know it's kind of like so funny to say that because I remember my mom telling me this, exactly this, and me complaining to her because I was like, no, that can't be right. That's like, I have my own opinions. And then now I'm here, I'm like, yeah, everyone's copying what they're seeing on the internet. Um, and because they have this kind of like very like high standard of what a friendship should be, they feel like they can't set those boundaries because they're like, this is my theory. Okay, this is my theory. It's because they see those elevated friendships and they're like, but if I set my boundary now, my friendship is not going to be like that anymore. My friendship is not going to be that way that they see on the internet. They're not going to be this really good friendship or this very like idealized or idolized version of a friendship that they see online. And so that's kind of like why they kind of fit themselves into these boxes, even though they kind of don't want to be in said box, because they feel like otherwise they won't be able to have that like idealized goal of a friendship that they've seen online or on in shows or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And um what and then now I'm going to talk about what the doc said real quick, real quick, real quick. I'll be fast. But it's basically like my parents, like I grew up, I said this like last time, but I grew up with immigrant parents. Like I'm like one of the few people in my family that were born in the States and live here in the States. So they in at least in our culture, like mental health, you do not speak of mental health in our culture. Like it's not something people normally do. It is something that's like kind of taboo and it's starting to kind of like sprinkle in slowly through the years, but it's even like the US is doing better than us in the sense of like talking about mental health because a lot of people don't know what it is. And this is why education like this is so important because like my parents, both of them didn't even know what boundaries were until way later on in their life. And they like and I'm very grateful and thankful that they taught me what boundaries were and how to set it and told me that like I am my own person. I should not define myself by other people. Like they like taught me all this stuff. Did I listen? No, I was a teenager, but they did tell me them, right? But it's like it's kind of the thing of like now people are starting to listen. Now people are starting to learn about these things, which is why it's kind of like important to even like I sometimes I tell my parents stuff that they don't know, like some mental health stuff because I don't want to say that they ask me questions a lot. They ask me questions a lot about it because they're like, you're so like you know more about it than we do. Like, can you like give us some tips? Like my dad is obsessed with watching psychologists on YouTube now, and he watches them and then he sends them my way. And he's like, dude, this is so interesting. You should like watch it. And he's like reading books and anyway, but because it is something very taboo and it's something that's slowly opening up, a lot of people don't know that it's a thing. And if you are in a family that like you don't know that you didn't know this was a thing until you watch this, or you didn't know that like boundaries was even a word that existed in the mental health vocabulary, it's okay. My parents, they're twice my age and they didn't know it until recently either. And you kind of have to be the person to start that conversation, because sometimes your parents don't know it. So you can't rely on them to start the conversation, especially when they grew up in like a culture like mine where like their parents did not talk to them about mental health, like their friends didn't talk about mental health. It's like therapy was like only for quote unquote crazy people. So that's why it's kind of like important to like, open up to people, because maybe they're learning something from your experience, or maybe you're learning something from their
Absolutely.
experience.
And I love what you brought up when you said, you didn't listen to your parents, right? It was that thing where it's kind of, oh, I see what you mean, but that's not why I'm doing this. And now all of a sudden you're back to, okay, that was why I was doing that. So like it kind of resonates now and it makes sense. And I think we've all kind of gone through that. Alani, I saw your hand. Come on.
I agree with Karen. I don't know if you guys agree with me. I know a lot of parents don't believe on depression, anxiety, stuff like that. And some kids get depression, and it's hard for the kids to tell the parents how they feel. And like they don't like I don't know if that comes with trust. Like they don't want to trust their parents with what they're feeling and going through, because the parents don't believe on that kind of stuff.
And that is definitely a very real thing. And it kind of goes back to that culture, right? How parents were brought up and why they don't believe in certain things. That is very real. And sometimes that does play a huge role in what you trust in telling your parents, especially if you feel like they're not going to believe it anyway. Because if they're telling you, I don't believe in depression, I don't believe in anxiety, it's hard for kids to come out and say, I'm feeling down, I don't feel right, because their parents are going to be like, oh, it's fine. I feel like it's in every culture, you guys, like that there's always some type of stigma as it relates to mental health in each culture, whether it's we're not going to talk about it, whether it's we don't believe in it. And if you are one who grew up in church, the main answer in a lot of church families was we're going to pray it away, and so it hits differently across the board for each dynamic, each culture. That's that diversity. But I love that you guys are able to stand in the space, right? And talk about these things and how you hear those things or you've gone through those things and it's affected you and how you've been able to maintain and build on those relationships. So before I even close out, y'all know how we do. We've spent a whole month talking about those positive peer relationships. What is something as we're closing out the month that you would want a student to take with them in order to build better relationships with their peers?
I can start. I'll be fast this time, I swear. I think what we talked about today, I think is very important, because no matter what relationship you make, it will never be positive if you do not have those boundaries set and you don't have like the self-esteem and the confidence in yourself. Not self-esteem, like you have to have like the confidence in yourself to be able to like tell people no. I think that's the most important thing, I think.
Oh, I love it. Go ahead, Jackie.
To be forgiving and also accountable. To remember that no one is perfect. We all make mistakes. They're bound to happen in any type of relationship, whether that is at home or at school or in a support group, maybe at sports, whatever the case may be. And when they do happen, it's important to take the responsibility for your actions and offer just genuine apologies when it is necessary. But equally learning to forgive others when they slip up and show maturity and emotional intelligence. Holding on to grudges can just ruin relationships and break that trust, but also forgiveness can strengthen relationships. And by showing that you value that person more than the mistake that they made or that slip up.
Oh, come on, y'all. These words of wisdom. Ilani.
So be confident, don't depend on others, be yourself, have respect, set your boundaries, and say no when you're feeling out of like, no, like I don't want to do that. Say no and be happy.
My girl said that no is a whole sentence. No. I love it. Come on, Smith. I see you.
Look, she said no, period.
Period. Yes.
Period. Whole sentence, complete stop, no, period. You know, me being who I am, I don't ever want to be looked at as the old guy, get off my lawn guy, because I just talked about young men with their pants sagging down, and I'm trying to tell these young folks to be different
Oh
and
my
this, that, and
God.
third. So what I would say is this. Now, this might be a little bit too much information. Feel vulnerable, I feel comfort, and I have trust with all the folks on this panel and whoever may be watching out in the wide world of internet. Now, when I talk about having vulnerable and being you, because I talked to it earlier about, you go any high school, whatever, everybody looks the same. Everybody dressed the same, everybody walks the same, everybody listens to the same music. It is what it is, right? I have been authentically uncut myself since day one. I can honestly say that about myself. Now, there was a time when I wanted to fit in. Of course, I wanted friends. However, and I'm going to shut up with this, I promise you, because it's so important to being who you are, young folks. There's an iceberg. You only see what's on top of the iceberg that's sticking out the water, but there's so much more underneath, right? That's who I am. And so I made a conscious decision in the senior year, 12th grade, I made a conscious decision. I'm wearing sweats every day. And if I ain't wearing sweats, I'm wearing shorts. I ain't worried about what anybody think. Me and my boy, we just wear sweats every day. It's nothing. Halfway through my senior year, I was like, man, I have to be different than him. Like, I have to, because I'm me. I'm a rebel. I'm a revolutionary in my heart. I'm gonna set the status quo. So I started wearing my underdrawers inside out every day. If you're going to be authentically you, you cannot be scared to do things different. It's okay. People might laugh, but that's just because you're different. You're on a higher level. We are all different. And our level of greatness is underneath where that iceberg is. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to do things differently and don't be scared to be authentically you. Uncut, raw, how you came out. Head
Come on,
up,
Smith.
chest out.
Listen, wait, look, because I got so many questions. Now you went and you did this to be revolutionary. Nobody ever seen it. He like, that was not the point.
But that's the point, right? People don't have to see you fighting back. People don't have to.
Absolutely.
All it matters is what you think. That's all that matters.
Yes,
you know what I'm
that
saying?
is so true.
That's all that matters. It doesn't matter. And my point to all of that was, you don't know that I'm making a change and I'm fighting the good fight.
Yes.
That's about me. It's about me. I'm going to be different, and I'm going to walk this walk because I got to walk this walk by myself. So, young folks, take that with you. If you don't remember nothing I ever said, remember that story, because that's the truth. And I ain't going to change it, and I'm not scared to share it. It's going to be in my next book. It's going to be in my next book, I promise.
Oh, Lord, now that's going to be a chapter in the book. Look, I can't wait. I can't wait, because we already know. Dr. Lytle, what would you like to tell our young people?
I think the takeaway for me with regard to just positive relationships and the conversation we've had today is just take the time to figure out who you are, like what you need, and then try to find a person that you can trust enough to share what those needs are. Because ultimately, even if you have one person, that is going to be exponentially better than just trying to figure it out completely on your own. We are meant to be in community. We are meant to relate to one another. And I was a very, very introvert, very shy child. You can't tell it now because that's not where I live anymore. But when I was really little, I didn't feel comfortable just talking to people. But But I found out that once I started recognizing what I brought to the table, like what's so great about me, I was less afraid to share in that with people. And to Smitty's point, maybe it's people that are going to look like me and sound like me and like some of the things that I like. But I was always kind of an odd woman out. So I'm not going to lie. I didn't have a whole lot of people that were like, oh, yeah, I like to read all day. But I did. And I was okay with that, you know? And so that's fine. We'll find something else in common. Maybe it was music, maybe it was something else. But I think that it's okay to be different, but there's always something that connects you, that can connect you or be that connecting factor with someone else. And if there's, I mean, just spend time talking to that person and you'll find something you have in common. Maybe it's we both hate peanut butter. I love peanut butter. I'm just giving a bad example, but but I want you to just take the time to figure out what you need for you, and I think it'll help you figure out the people that you're wanting or will want to welcome into your life.
Ooh, wait. Y'all tore it up today. I'm just saying. Like y'all really shut down Talk Tuesday, and I love it. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for coming on and sharing your insights and your inputs, because I feel like they're definitely all valuable. Hopefully my students that are watching was able to have some takeaways for tonight. And so my students that are in the chat, on here watching, I want y'all to drop in the chat what's one thing that you learned all month listening to Positive Peer Relationships on Talk Tuesday. I think it's been just amazing hearing all the takeaways, the words of wisdom that you guys are leaving behind for not just our students, but also our parents and families that are watching live as well. So listen, y'all, it's a wrap, right? So thanks everybody for tuning in to this week's episode of Talk Tuesday. We hope that today's discussion on positive peer relationships gave you all some valuable insights and practical advice. Remember, the quality of your friendships can have a huge impact on your happiness and well-being, so choose your circle wisely and always strive for connections that build you up and not tear you down. Before we end today's live, don't forget to check out some of our upcoming events for Steps Foundation. Students in Osceola County, you all should have got that notification, right? We just found out that school recently issued a statement stating that there will be no school on Thursday, but you guys do have school tomorrow, so don't get too excited. Yes, and they are still resuming after school activities tomorrow as well, but everything for Thursday is canceled as there is no school. I want all my families and students to remain safe throughout this storm. If the weather permits us this weekend, we are still having family walk in the park, but we will keep you guys posted. So keep an eye on our social media. We'll let you know if we cancel it due to the weather. Otherwise, we'll be at Family Walk in the Park at Kissimmee Lakefront. And our topic this month is going to be, how do we handle difficult topics with family and friends? We invite you guys to come out and walk with us, as it's going to be fun. We also invite you guys to keep a lookout for our 6-week self-care series that will be starting next month in October. You'll be able to see the dates on Thursday is going to be the first posting that we have for it. So keep an eye on our social media. Everything else you guys can find on our website at www.stepsfoundation.org. And then follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and of course, YouTube. So if you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and click that like and follow. Outside of that, you guys, remember you are stronger than you think and more capable than you realize. Keep growing, keep learning, and most importantly, keep choosing positive connections. Until next week, guys, we'll see you again. Good night, y'all. I know, Smitty, I'm coming because look, I see the expressions. Smitty, like, give me my song. Where is my music? I know, I got you, and boom.